about every year since 1906, there's been a race held in these mountains. You'd think you wouldn't see many cars out here with the goats and sheep, but the island of Sicily was the home of an eccentric Italian count named Vincenzo Florio. And there was nothing he liked more at the turn of the century than to race through these mountains. The biggest difficulty isn't really the road, but the animals or small children that might be waiting around the next corner. 2 years ago in a Porsche I hit an Alfa Romeo service car. And then last year I hit a local. If your car breaks, like mine did, you don't have to worry about hospitality, even way up here in the mountains. There's always a farmer around who'll share his meal with you. In town, you're escorted off to the nearest family's Sunday lunch, put at the head of the table, and toasted for the rest of the day. There's just no other race anywhere that's quite like it.
Good morning, Diecast community. It's pretty early. It's like 7 o'clock or so. So it's show and tell Sunday, and I look like death warmed over. And so I'm just going to show you some stuff. This is probably the nerdiest day of the week. Like, I'm a pretty nerdy dude, and this channel is nerdy to begin with, but Sundays are like really, really nerdy because lately I've just been showing you where I store cars, where I keep the stuff that I collect. So yeah, be prepared for that. As I said, the new archive, which is one of every Hot Wheels casting, is going to take up a lot of 48 slot jammer, aka Kislane boxes, the options ones that you buy from Hobby Lobby. And I've been repurposing some of the ones that I already own so I don't have to buy new ones, and vacating those, which are sort of generalized makes or models. I've been establishing new Planos, because I'd rather buy Planos than Kislanes, because, I don't know, I like the way they line up on a bookshelf or whatever. And I'm going to need like 100 of the jammers. So here are some new boxes that I've established in the process of vacating Kislanes. So the most full one is probably this Matchbox BMW, and I have a lot more Matchbox BMWs than I thought I did. So this really only holds up to like the 4 series, and I think it's going to expand. Probably need like 3 BMW Matchbox. So we got the 2002s, the CSLs, the 1M. What's this? Oh wait, the 318 that came out. That's the new casting. The 1M, M2, M2. That's just the 3 series. We assume it's the 328. The 3 series touring to there. Then the M4 cabriolets, one of which is a moving parts. Actually, I think 2 of them are moving parts. And then the I4. So really, this Matchbox BMW box is really just up the 4 series. I have a whole nother box of cars above the 4 series, like the 5s. There's a lot of police M5s. And there'll probably be even 3 before very long. Matchbox Corvette. These came off the wall, actually. Or, no, they did come out of a box. Gen 1 Corvettes are probably my least favorite. And we'll see a dedicated box. But here's the Matchbox for now. I don't know what that is, 62 or 64. The baseball Stingray, the T-tops, what is that, C5s, and there's a whole lot of 2020s, and then there's this convertible, which I forget what year that is. It's either 2020, it's the latest gen, 2024, I think, but This is just Matchbox Corvettes. I don't have a ton of those because it's mostly Hot Wheels castings that I focus on. And speaking of Corvettes, speaking of Hot Wheels, I did vacate a Gen 1 a C1 box because there aren't a lot of C1s that I'm really fond of, but these two definitely were keepers. And it's red because I was pleased to find out there aren't very many of either one of these. So it's the 62 Corvette versus the 62 Corvette Gasser, which there's really no contest, but it's the same year. So since one is stock and one is hot rodded, I figured they'd make good box partners. And there aren't very many. I think I'm missing 3 or 4 of each. There's a Spectre Flame Black or Spectre Flame Gray super treasure hunt of this. But yeah, totally achievable whenever I get around to focusing on these. This box will be one that gets completed. And then one that is not very full, the Nissan Skyline HT. I heard what the HT stands for at one point, but hardtop. I think it means hardtop. 2000 GTX, not to be confused with the GTR. And the easiest way to tell is the GTX doesn't have the fender mounted mirrors. The GTR does. And yeah, don't have very many of these. I think there's a super version of that, which incidentally, trivia, is the very first super treasure hunt I ever found in the wild. I found it in a Kroger in a very bougie part of Atlanta where people don't give a shit about Hot Wheels. I was just sitting there right in the front. Nobody cared. So I found that, but I sold it. And here's the rest, including this one. And I think this is the latest one. But there's a lot of them. None of them are super expensive, so I went ahead and labeled it red because one day this box will be complete. Probably not anytime soon, but it's achievable. And those are my new boxes for me. I was going to answer this question on Friday, but I think since it's show and tell Sunday and we're talking nerdy shit, I'll show you. Josh asked how the where the archive is stored, how I keep track of which cars are in it, which cars aren't, which ones I need, and so on and so forth. So let's go on a little field trip upstairs to my nerd cave, and I'll show you where the archive is going to be kept. So here is where the new archive is kept, and it's going to be considerably more manageable. As Josh pointed out, don't keep them in bins. I keep them in sort of more, whatever, organized in these jammer cases. So there's like 48 per case. The really long ones get the big slots. There's certain castings that are pretty long, like that, what is that? The fire engine and the hydroplane, pretty long. So what were the other questions about this? Oh, how do I know which ones are in which? So I have a spreadsheet, which is also quite nerdy, that lists which box each casting is in. So I have a list of every casting, which box it's in, and whether it is the debut or not. So the 3 phases of this will be to get one of every casting, period, and figure out how many boxes that's going to take, probably 100 or more. Phase 2 will be upgrading any of those castings that aren't the debut. So I'm gonna be very oriented towards getting the debut casting initially, but there's some that just aren't practical, so I'll take what I can get. And then lastly, which is probably going to be years from now, when I have one of every casting, and each one is the debut, or most of them are, I'll start putting them in chronological order. So like say box 1 will have like the 68s and maybe 69s. Box 2 will have like 69s, maybe 70s, and so on. So they'll be the earlier the boxes will be the earlier castings and so on. And I'm not going to show you the spreadsheet because that's personal. But yeah, this up here in this nerd room is where I keep a lot of the action figures that I still own, which is totally taking a backseat to Diecast. So hopefully that actually made you feel better about yourself, and you're thinking something like, man, I thought I was nerdy, but nothing as anal as that dude. So anyway, that's what this channel is all about. Figure all or nothing. By way of a parting shot, today is Super Bowl Sunday. And when I was in high school, back in the 1860s, you could pretty much divide people up into like the jocks, the freaks, including music people, and nerds. And where I grew up, the farmers. So let's say like the hicks. So I, being of the freak clique, the music obsessed skater kids and the weirdos, didn't really like jocks. So most of my life I kind of had this prejudice against jocks and football fans. I live in a college town near Athens, Georgia. I don't live in Athens, Georgia. I live outside of Athens, Georgia. But I do all my living in the town of Athens, which is a college town, a very football-oriented town. And game days can be a bit obnoxious. So I kind of had this chip on my shoulder about football fans. But in my later years, I've come to realize that people are into what they're into. And if people are into anything, more power to them. Enjoy what you enjoy. So I myself am not into football, just like I'm not into golfing or fishing. Like the only sports to me are motorsports. But live and let live. Do it. Hopefully you won't beat your wife if your team loses. Don't eat too much junk food and make yourself sick. You probably have to go to work tomorrow. So have fun and be kind. Keep it fun. Later.